thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cindy O'Meara.
And this week, my friends, it's all about us. We have decided it's been quite a while since we've had a little catch up with you. So if you're at home or if you're out and about, my suggestion is go and grab yourself a coffee, because you're about to sit in the lounge room with the three of us and just have a chat about everything that we've been up to over the last couple of months, and everything that is of interest, and all of the different topics and all the different things that we've been talking about over the last few months, how we've applied that into our own lives. So let's chat, all of us. Let's sit down, let's have a coffee, and let's go through what's doing. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'd like to ask a question. So,
go for it.
The last interview that we did was with Ariel Garten, and it was all about the Muse. And the Muse, we really questioned her and grilled her, so everyone should have heard that. That was last week. So we've had the opportunity to trial it. Well, Karen has, because Cindy, and I'll be a Jack here and be a Cindy, just didn't quite get around to it, and Kim is travelling. So I want to know what you felt about the Muse. And you're a regular meditator, aren't you, Karen?
I am. Yes, I am. I rely very heavily on my meditation to get me through the day. So I took it from you, Cindy, and the setup of it is actually super easy. It's probably the easiest of all the gadgets that I've got in my place. It's really, really easy to set it up. So the Muse, it's actually Muse 2. So it's the second generation of this particular device that they have. And it's like a little headband. It's very, very, very light. And you actually forget that you're wearing it. And you position the band. It's got a band, and then it's got like a clip, or not a clip, but it's got two little hooks, I guess, or two little feet, for want of a better word, that go behind your ears. And so you position it quite firm across the middle of your forehead, and then you bring the little feet in behind your ears, and that holds it on your head. And this thing measures the vibrational waves that are emitted by your brain. So when the brain is very, very active, the brain waves are quite fast. And when the brain is calm, then the brain waves are slower. So when you put the Muse on, you connect it to an app on your phone. And the app that's on your phone, you've got different settings, if you like, of meditation sounds. So once you sit down and you meditate, and you might choose the rain, or you might choose drum beats, or you might choose, what's another one they've got? Like very light music, orchestral music. There's another one that's the sound of nature. So there's a handful of different sounds that they have available. And when the brain is really, really active, meaning you're distracted, you're thinking about your shopping list, or you're wondering what the hell you're doing, then the music or the rainforest sounds get louder. And then when you've calmed your farm, then the music or the rainforest or whatever it is gets much softer. And if you get really, really calm, you hear little birds tweeting in the background. And so,
wow.
It's quite beautiful. Actually, it's really, really beautiful. And at first, when I sat down and, did it, it's got instructions on everything. So as soon as you put your earphones in and you choose your meditation, it goes through a whole lot of instructions so you know exactly what you're doing. It's so easy. Mm. And it tells you the sounds to listen for, and it tells you, it says this is what you'll hear when you're distracted, this is what you'll hear when you're calm, and this is what you'll hear when you're super calm. So you kind of know, it's almost like you kind of know what you're aiming for. And then at the end of your meditation, you get the opportunity, it asks you, do you want to go and journal? And then I've just said no at each of those. And then it brings up my results and it tells me how much or what percentage of the meditation was I distracted, what percentage was I calm or in harmony, and what percentage was I really calm, and how many little birds did I hear tweet. And you get points. If you hear one bird tweet, you might get 1 point, but if you hear 10 birds tweet, you might get, 500 points. And then it also gives you points based on the amount of time that you've been meditating. So you can set the meditation to complete after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, up to like 3 hours. You can meditate for as long as you like, and you can just set it. So that at the end of the meditation, you hear everything go quiet, and then there's just a little gong sound that signifies that the meditation is over. And then the instructor comes on and says, congratulations, you're going to see your results, and we'll see you here, next week. And then you've got goals. So you set up your goals before you start. So I said I wanted to meditate. Initially, I said 5 minutes each day for a week. And then I thought the first time I meditated, 5 minutes was almost too long because the first time I used it, I'm not used to having any sound. So when I had the sound, it was profoundly distracting to me, and I didn't get any birds tweeting the whole 5 minutes. And then I thought, this is terrible. And then I thought, no, you hang in there, do another 5 minutes, but do it with a different sound. So I went to the beating, and that's called the heart meditation. So it's a sound that resonates with your heart. And one of the meditations that I do, I think that we've all done when we were doing our beautiful retreats, when I talked to you guys through the heart-based meditation, where you take your awareness and you anchor it inside of your heart, and then you listen to the beats of your heart. So I did that with my awareness, and I found it was beautiful. And when I got to that very, very calm and quiet place, just hearing very soft beating in the background was amazing. So the next day I set it for 20 minutes and I listened to the breath one. And the breath one has got a beautiful orchestral sound in it. And it asks you to breathe in for 4 and then out for 6 seconds. And so there are this little beat that's in the background that's 4 beats and then 6 beats and then 4 beats and then 6 beats. So I haven't quite mastered that without counting the beats, because I'm sure you're not supposed to be counting the beats because that's incredibly distracting. So I haven't quite mastered that, but I've used it every day since I got it from you on Friday, Cindy. And, I can definitely see its value. I can see if somebody's never meditated before and they've got this monkey mind that's driving them insane, and they're the person who says, I can't meditate. Oh my goodness, this thing is fantastic. And then there are also days when, and I'm a very experienced meditator, so I can sit for an hour and a half to 2 hours meditating if I allow myself the time. But for the most part, most of my meditations are around 45 to 50 minutes most days. And if I'm lucky, I might do it twice a day. But for the most part, it's once a day at 45 minutes. And I've found that there are days when my meditation is really clunky. And I'll do a journal after most of my meditations. When I was going back through my journal, I could see in a week, 3 or 4 days, I've written very clunky meditation all over the show, couldn't focus, what a wreck, not quite sure why I do this. And those are my notes in my journal. So I think for those days, something like this is profound. I will be honest, I worry about the technology during a brain state that is so not here. And that does worry me. And I did find that I wouldn't allow myself to go to the depths of my own meditation practice. I didn't allow myself to go there. And I think when I, revisited why, it's because I'm nervous that there's something sending or receiving electrical pulses from my brain and reading that from a technological point of view when my brain is at its most open, I just didn't feel comfortable with that. And for that reason, I probably wouldn't use it all the time. I would maybe use it on the days that I'm feeling it's clunky and I can't get anywhere. And, I feel like I just want to get the hell up and run a mile, because those days absolutely happen. So I would probably use it for those days. But that was my only concern with it, was just that having technology pulsing or reading into my, not pulsing, but reading into my brain when my brain is so open.
I love how it figures it out. Like, how does it do that? How does it?
Well, your brain is emitting an electromagnetic field, and your heart emits an Hey,
here's that EMF again.
Oh no, it is. It is. Only this is native.
Yeah. Yes.
So your heart has an electromagnetic field that's 5 meters, and we only say it's 5 meters because that's as far as our equipment can measure. And the brain is not quite as far as the heart, so it's putting out a pulse all the time. It's putting out an electromagnetic field or pulse all the time, and this thing has copper receivers on it that then send messages via Bluetooth to your phone. So your phone is on Bluetooth and receiving the whole time while you've got your earphones plugged into the phone. So it's sending, EMFs through your earphones into your brain the whole time. So, yeah, that's the only thing that makes me nervous. But having said that, we spoke about that with Ariel, and she, was very, she was able to really put our minds at rest about that in the context of this being very mild in its Bluetooth capabilities. But I think, I don't know. I'm probably way off base. I'm probably way wrong about that. But that was just my concern.
Well, I remember speaking to her even before we got on about this, and I said, look, we'll be asking you the questions about, the Bluetooth. And she wrote back and basically said it's very, what did she call it, low something or another. So I think what you said, Karen, as far as using it as a tool to help you, get into that state when you're, as you call it, doing a clunky meditation. Yeah, I think that's good, but we should learn to be in silence and to learn to do that. And that's just a training tool that you use. Like anything, you've got training tools, and then once you use the training tools enough, you should be able to figure out how to calm the brain down. So,
and you know what? That's spot on, Cindy, because you can feel yourself training your brain. You can actually feel it. When the rain sound gets louder, you can actually feel yourself, or I felt myself saying, no, I'm here. Breathe. And then I would have my little, calm your farm. No, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. We're not doing our shopping right now. And you can feel yourself actually training the brain, and the brain relenting. You can actually feel that. You can feel the brain surrender. That's very powerful.
Sounds amazing.
That part's very powerful. You can actually feel the brain surrender. You can. I mean, it doesn't have to, because you can just have your mind still run wild with you, and then you're just hearing annoying sounds in the background. Mm-hmm. But when you hear it getting louder, and I love the way that she's done that, because it does get louder, it forces you to concentrate on what you're hearing rather than your thoughts.
But you think about when rain falls, like we've had a bit of rain in the last week, and we've had thunder and lightning storms. And you think about it, it does stop you thinking about anything. You go out to look at, oh my gosh, look at how heavy that rain is, especially if it's loud. You're not thinking about anything else but that rain.
I know.
So I like that. And I'm an African drum lover, so I think I like the African drum. So thank you, Karen, for being the guinea pig for us, considering I had it for a week and couldn't.
You're hilarious.
I was just terrible. I went, right, I've got to give it to Karen because
Meanwhile, I have a beautiful, amazing expert in meditation from Spain, Augustin, who is designing 16 meditations for each of my oil blends.
Oh.
So that you can actually have a meditation with each of the blends, which I'm really excited about, especially that he is a very big Hello Christmas. He's absolutely gorgeous. And when you hear his Spanish voice, it's just, I don't think it would matter what he said.
It's like that French guy that we met in New Zealand. Just say honey.
It's so true. From a meditation point of view, I just want to ask a quick question. What's your go-to? How many minutes a day?
I'm about 45, 50.
Wow.
Are you asking me to? Well,
Yeah.
Well, if I'm all revved up with Joe Dispenza, I'll do the 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes night without fail. But if I haven't been revved up by him for a while, I slowly lose my mojo on meditation. So
it takes effort.
Huh?
It takes effort.
It does. It takes effort.
Yeah.
And like my favourite thing to do is to get up in the morning, and if I'm awake, I don't want to put a meditation on. I just want to get on my bike and go to the beach. So I've kind of got to look at it that's what turns, really gets me going is to go there. And then when I swim, it was so funny the other day, and everyone laughed at me, but the other day I was in such a meditative state because I count my breaths. I go 1, 2, 3, breathe, 1, 2. So it's kind of this thing that I do, and then I stop the count and I just concentrate on the breath as I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. Anyway, I was so into it the other day that I got to, we've got rocks up the other end of Mooloolaba, and I was looking at sand because all we've got is sand until you hit these rocks, and I hit the rocks and I scared the hell out of myself.
Oh my God.
Put my head up and went, ah! And then looked down again and went, oh, don't worry, it's just the rocks, all good guys. Again. So I must, that I would say that's my meditation. And my other meditation is hiking for days and days and days and days in places, just walking, just being in nature. I don't know, it revives me. So no, I'm not the one that sits there and does my 15 minutes anymore. I need an injection of Joe Dispenza again so that I get going on it again. But yeah.
But the best time to meditate, Cindy, is after you've exercised. Because the body's natural desire or inclination is to move and to be active, which is why you've just been sleeping for so long. Your body's natural inclination is to get active because you've been, horizontal. So doing your swim, and if you can come back and try and do a meditation, even if it is only 15 minutes, that's the best time to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because the natural inclination of the mind is to be quiet, and the natural inclination of the body is to be active. So that's why when you actually do a meditation, you're moving between active thought and calmness, and active thought and calmness, and that's the nature of a meditation. So meditation isn't just full silence all the time. Sometimes it is, but the body will kick us out of that beautiful state of calm. That's what kicks you out. It's not actually the mind running away with you. It's the body creating thought and distraction because it wants to move.
Makes such sense.
Actually, that is. And you know what? I often come home and then, you're active when you come home because I'm getting my breakfast ready, I'm getting my lunch ready, I'm getting ready for work. But if I finish my swim and then just go down to the beach for 15 minutes and just sit because 15 minutes is nothing, because usually I'm sitting there 15 minutes and talking to everybody. So I'll just take myself away and do the talking to myself. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, look, absolutely.
All right. What about you? What about you and your meditations? How are you going?
Me?
Yes.
Me, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza in the morning after I've been for a walk or a run. I love his morning meditation. If I've got out of a habit, I get back into his morning and evening one.
Yeah.
I also really, really enjoy just sometimes just sitting there. And I know that sounds really bizarre, but I honestly get back from a run sometimes, and as I'm stretching, and Karen, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but as I'm stretching, I'm just going through every part of my body and visualizing each of the muscles as I'm stretching them. And I don't know if that's meditation, but it feels incredibly relaxing. So I really love doing that.
Yeah, well, I think that everything that brings a person's awareness into themselves is meditative. And I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way. The whole purpose of meditation is to train the brain to go beyond the physical. And that's really the purpose of the meditation, is to go beyond the physical, to experience the metaphysical, so that we can see that we are more than just what is physical, and then build a relationship with all that is beyond physical, because we've got a really amazing relationship with that physicality, but we don't have an amazing relationship with all that is beyond the physical. And when you meditate, it calms the mind and the thought to such an extent that we can experience what else is present, that sense of nothingness, that sense of awareness, that sense of presence. And none of that requires the physical body. In fact, when you're actually in that beautiful state of meditation, you lose sensation in your hands and your legs. And, there's often been times where I'll sit there and I go, what are my hands even doing? I can't feel my hands. And then I force myself to move my hands just to know they haven't fallen off.
Yes, I've done that too.
Because you lose touch with the physicality, and you lose touch of the feeling of your bum on the chair, or, whatever, wherever you are. So that's kind of the nature of it, is to show us that there is more than just our thoughts and our body. And there's more to life than that, or there's more to us than that, and it's a way to experience it. So I think whatever takes our awareness from outside to inside is in and of itself part of it,
I love it when you talk like this. It's such a beautiful, it's almost melodic. And I think we should have your voice in our ears, and I love your meditations that you do as well. And I think you should make an Up for a Chat meditation, especially for all of us that love following your way of believing and thinking. I think that would be awesome. Just putting it out there.
Okay.
I'm very excited by that. I think.
Oh my goodness.
But it's not me, it's you, Karen. Because it is. I was doing the same thing as you, Kim. I'm listening to her and I'm like going, I think I'm meditating right now.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was like. My brain was just calming down, and I was just kind of concentrating on what you were saying. So I think it's a great idea, and I am sure that after this that we will get some messages saying, yes, please, we want one. So I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, if peeps want it, I shall do it. No problem at all. I don't quite know what you guys are hearing, but I'm happy to go with the flow on that.
You've just got a beautiful way of delivering it. So sweetheart girls, what else have you been up to? Give us, our listeners and us all an update. What have you been doing, Cindy, apart from writing a whole lot of books?
Oh, well, I did some NLP training with you, which was very interesting, I must admit. This was an intensive training, and we basically, the hours were 10 till 6, but they were never 10 to 6. It was always, we want you to come early, we want you to, do some workshopping with other people, and then sometimes we wouldn't leave each other's site until 7:30. So it was really full on, and I know Karen is an absolute master at understanding this, but for me, I had done it years ago when in my 20s with Marvin Oka in Melbourne. And there were a couple of things that I remembered, but I actually found the intensive exhausting at times, confusing at times. And she kept saying, let your unconscious take the information in. Stop the conscious taking it in. And I'm thinking, if my conscious brain is not taking this in, it's not going to go in. But I have to admit, by the end of the 7 days when we were practicing on each other, I went, oh my goodness, I have learned something. So, what I loved, why I did neurolinguistic programming was that a lot of people have limiting beliefs about who they are and what they can do, and especially my students in the Nutrition Academy. And I did it to help them, to try and help them in a way that neurolinguistic programming teaches you to do, to help people to create change in their life. Now, whether they're the students or whether they're people who keep going on a yo-yo diet and they have this belief about themselves, it doesn't really matter which one it was, but I just wanted those tools, especially for my mastermind group that I'd like to start in 2021. I felt that it's funny when you don't think you have enough information and enough tools, so you go and you learn to find out how you can help people make those changes and get them to what I want people to get off their butts after they've done my course and change their community, or not necessarily change their community, but influence their community. But if they can't get out of their own way, then they can't help other people. So I also learned a lot about, my own limiting beliefs. While I went there for students and clients, I also learned a lot about, we have a lot of our own limiting beliefs and where they come from, which I found really interesting, and especially between the ages of 0 and 7 and before 0 in utero, that we live unconsciously and that our unconscious mind is taking in information and making decisions about that information. So I gave the example of my sister and my brother and I, that we were born in the same household, to the same parents. There was no divorce. I don't ever remember my parents arguing. We lived in a nice home. We went to a good school. We lived in a little country town. And I and my brother saw our life as a fairy tale. Our childhood as a fairy tale, while my sister saw it as a nightmare. So what were the decisions that were being made about the same things that were happening in our life between the ages of 0 and 7 that my brother and I made versus what my sister made? And as a result, those decisions dictate, I believe, your life. So I love neurolinguistic programming and how we went back to figure out, when did you make that decision about anger or guilt or I can't think of any of the other emotions now. So we went through quite a few emotions. Kim, I can't remember that. But anyway, we went through all these emotions, and when did you make that first decision about it? And we talked about a macaroni, a group of macaronis on a string, and that you had to get to the last macaroni, the first macaroni on the string in order for all of them to disappear. So all the times you've been angry and all the times you've been guilty and all the times you've had, all those other emotions. That's what I've been doing, and Kim did it as well. So Kim, you might like to, we both went to the same thing. We both had the same practitioner. What did you see it as? Because I know, as she said to us, how many people were in the room? There were 12 of us or 11 of us. And she said there are 11 different conferences going on at the moment, at this one moment together, because each of you will be siphoning through the information that I'm giving you and taking away what you want to take away from it, not necessarily what the other person is taking away from it, which I found really interesting. So when we talk, the three of us talk and do a podcast, it's interesting what we could be podcasting to thousands of people, different communications every time. That's how I got that, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I got from the neurolinguistic programming.
I mean, I remember, I love the line. And I know, Karen, you've been doing this for many, many years, but I certainly appreciated the line. I think it was the study. It's the study of the subjective experience. So it's our own, based on our own circumstances, experiences, beliefs, and the models and the ways in which we've grown up to have those beliefs that creates the lens in which we see the world, which is why we all see it so differently. And the other thing I got from that, which is probably why I love our podcast and asking questions, is that it's actually not even about the questions you ask, but the right questions that you ask and how to bring that out of a person so that they're speaking it from their way. I also love the fact that she said all language is manipulative, that we can manipulate our conversations each and every moment. I love the line, all humans are all traits, which allowed us to look at ourselves that if ever you think someone else is an idiot, well, just remember that we too have those abilities to be an idiot. And just at the same time, we can be beautiful. Everyone has the ability to be beautiful. And I think the tools and techniques that were taught to us would help us to help anyone overcome anything. After all, it is just a limiting belief, which I kept having, Karen, we kept having you in our ear. The whole time we were there, we were going, oh, Karen would say that. Oh, Karen would say it even more. She'd say another angle to that. And I also love the fact that it's also about understanding how we are manipulated through the things that are said. So advertising, news, conversations from people that we look up to. And it really made me question my own subjective beliefs, values and perceptions on how I listen and look and talk and how I communicate. And I think since I've completed it, I've been very mindful of how I speak or what I say and appreciating, I think, the way we communicate. But I think it was right around 7% of it is only words. I think it was 35% is physiology and 55% was tone, if I'm right. And I thought that was interesting. So I loved the idea that the practice and power of NLP is that everybody comes out with that sense of a win-win in a conversation. It's not a competition or just a whole series of subjective beliefs. So I don't know if I've got that right, but it felt like it was just an inquiry into the excellence of the language that we use, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think NLP has a universal language, and I think that the beauty of it is that it makes you very aware of what you haven't paid attention to in the past, and I think that it really has a very powerful place in undoing or reconfiguring the way that we see ourselves in the world. And that term they use, loosen your grip on your model of the world. You don't have to change it, but just loosen your grip on the belief system that's true. And I thought, yeah, I think NLP is amazing. I think it's amazing. And I think it's not everything, but it's a long way towards being a huge game changer, I think, in millions of people's lives. I think the more people who can do it, the better. Yes. Are you guys going to do the Masters as well?
I'd love to do it. I just found myself really driven by understanding more, particularly between the integration of the conscious and the unconscious, and understanding how much we live in an unconscious way, yet we think we're consciously doing it. And I think that was the analogy about being consciously conscious and unconsciously conscious, and I really loved all of that. I found it at times, Kaz, it honestly felt like we were learning a new language. And it was at times we felt incredibly clunky when we tried on different ways of communicating to one another. But I loved it when, like Cindy said, the more she said, just trust your subconscious to take this in and stop trying to make sense of it. And remember that for all things to make sense, one must have a sense of confusion before we understand that. And I think if we gave ourselves permission to do that, it made me realise how often I feel confused.
I think that was the best thing I got out of it, is that they said confusion precedes knowing. Oh, my God. And it's so bloody obvious. Of course you're going to be confused before you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just stating the obvious, but all of a sudden I was like, oh, so confusion serves a purpose. Right. Alrighty then.
I tell you something that was quite extraordinary that occurred is I told Taylor nothing about it, Taylor nothing, except that I was studying the power of language and how we communicate. And anyway, I went into Taylor and one night did my homework with her, and I said, all right, what's something you've got a problem with? And she said, look, maybe with the boy that I'm seeing. And I said, and how's that a problem for you? And she said, I don't know, he just does things and he says things and I say things and it's just like that. And then I kept saying, and how's that a problem for you? And she'd go, well, like maybe it's just sometimes I get a bit frightened. I said, so how's that a problem? She goes, I don't know. And then I said, what do you think is the root cause of that? And she said the word. She said, I think I'm fearful. And I said, all right, well, if we work on the word fear, and then there's a thing, without going into too much detail and freaking listeners out, there's a timeline therapy that you can do, and going back to either before birth, whether it was in utero or after birth, when did you feel the time before that feeling ever occurred? And for whatever reason, we don't need to understand it right now, but for whatever reason, Taylor just turned around with her eyes closed when she looked at her timeline and she said, and these are her exact words, it was the second to last week of the first trimester. So then we went through it and we looked at fear and we did this whole process and we came out the other side. It only took about maybe 5-10 minutes. And then when we finished, I said, how do you feel? And she said, I feel amazing. And I thought, wow, that was quick and easy. And then I sat there and I thought, wonder what happened in the 11th week of the first trimester that I was pregnant with Taylor to have her have a sense of fear or even say that. And I'm not kidding, Kaz. I looked at her and didn't I, Cindy? I was just like, oh my gosh. In the 11th week of the first trimester with Taylor, the 2 rubbish bins, which were very heavy, were sitting at our front door ready to be taken up to the driveway. And Danny was going off to work. And I put my hand in the bin and he said, leave them there. I'll do it when I get home. And I remember distinctly saying to him, I'm pregnant, not sick. And he said, Kimmy, just leave the bins there. I'll do it when I get home. Well, of course, him saying that, I felt like the need to do it. So he left and I carried the 2 bins up the long, long driveway that we had. And when I came back, I went to the bathroom and there was blood everywhere. And I screamed. I thought I was losing my baby. I rang Danny. He called an ambulance. I was taken to the hospital. And it turned out that I had erupted some blood vessels and the baby was fine and all that. But Karen, it was the 11th week of my first trimester.
Oh.
And I don't know, that kind of made me go, do I have to make sense of this? Isn't that extraordinary? She had no idea. I didn't know about it until I thought about it. And I thought that was amazing. First of all, the impact we can have on our children with our thoughts, our feelings and our experiences, but also how quickly we can clean that up or how we can change the mindset. So I don't know if that's woo-woo or some people listening to this are going, oh my gosh, you've just all lost the plot, you girls. But there is a massive science in behind this. It's not just us talking wacko here. There is a lot of science in behind it. And the founders of this work were psychologists and scientists. So I found that side of it also incredibly interesting.
How yay.
So that was a really good week. And I'm off to do a hike.
Oh,
yeah, that's I haven't done it yet, so maybe we can talk about it on another one. But I'm off to do a multi-day hike, taking everything on my back. And yeah, so it's 6 days and 5 nights with a couple of friends.
Is that with Kirsty,
Helen Patterin, and their friends. So I only know those 2. And I have met Laura, another girl, but I've only just met her briefly. So yeah, there's 7 of us doing a multi-day hike. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So there's my unbelievable true meditation. And just, I think the thought of taking everything with you for 6 days, that's accommodation, food, clothes, on your back through rugged Victorian mountains. And there's still snow there. The day we start or the day we arrive, I've looked at the long range weather forecast. It's -5 degrees.
Holy dooly.
Yeah, but I think that's a freaking weather because it is getting into summer. And but as my brother says, only fools and flatlanders ever predict weather in the mountains. And I'm looking at the 2-week long forecast to see what it's going to look like when I get there. But yeah, so when we start off though, it's 7 degrees.
Oh, Cindy.
Yeah, so that's good temperature for hiking in, especially with a big pack. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Kirsty and I the other night were just going through where we wanted to be each day. So it's a huge hike, and we will have to be doing 25 plus K every single day, up, down and down dale, up steep hills, mountains, and down into river crossings. There's one big river crossing that we'll be doing that at the moment we've heard it's waist deep. So I'm taking all my clothes off. I'm not getting wet. I'm only taking one set of clothes.
Oh, Cindy, there's going to be things in there.
Oh, don't. No, it's cold. It'll be freezing cold water. I'll think of Wim Hof. I'll do my breathing, my Wim Hof breaths, and I'll just get across in my undies.
Oh, my God. I hope nothing swims past you or touches you or crawls around you. Oh, I just want to die.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that.
Princess is coming with me.
I'm thinking of that mud bath Kimmy in Fiji. Oh my goodness, that had all the big long reeds that were just like crawlies.
So wrong. So wrong. I'll never do that to you again, my darling friend. I never will. Cindy will want it, but you won't. Darling Karen, what have you been up to, sweet pea?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't think I've actually been up to terribly much, and it feels quite fabulous. Gosh, what have I been doing? So I've been doing lots of writing. I've taken on 2 really huge, big ghostwriting contracts, which is just so much fun. And really, it's been pushing me outside of my comfort zone completely, which is great because I'm at a point where I really feel like I want to really develop the creative side of myself. Spirit Hive is firing on all 4s, and even that is pushing me outside my comfort zone. I tell you, you take on something that big and make it all about helping people to help people, which is my job as the leader of it, is to bring people on so that they have access to lots of people that they can help. That in and of itself is an enormous challenge because you're dealing with people who are very passionate, doing certain jobs and developing their skills. So it's huge. It's really, really big. But we have a lot of families now. We're up to about 60, 70 families that are coming to Spirit Hive each month. And we've got about 30-odd kids in the programs now. Our Speak Up and Engage podcast is up to 2,500 downloads a week, which is really, really exciting considering it's brand new.
Wow, that's really good.
Oh, I know. And the kids are doing so well with it. They really are. We just scored another government grant. So we picked up a government grant to do a series on cyberbullying, which starts now and completes at the end of December. And then we've just scored another government grant through the Sunshine Coast Council, which is all about creating a youth advisory committee and then an online youth leadership program. So that's really, really cool. And then, of course, I've got to recruit people in for that. We've also been pitching to some major corporate organisations a program that I developed called Vital Minds. And it's for organisations who have staff. And it's like a performance check-in. So a lot of companies have staff that they hire to do certain jobs, but, these people take days off, they take time off because they might be depressed, they might have anxiety, their boss might piss them off, something might go wrong. And then, of course, it affects them mentally, physically, and emotionally. So the program that we offer is leadership coaching. Obviously, that comes from myself and some of the other really senior psychologists that work in our team. And so we've got leadership coaching and executive coaching for the higher levels. And then we have It's like an employee assistance program where we check in with the employees every 3 months, and we don't talk to them about their job necessarily, but we talk to them about how they are coping physically, mentally, and emotionally, and support them along those lines. And then, and so we've been doing some really big pitches with that. We've got some amazing successes coming through. And the biggest success that we've got coming through is, interestingly enough, in the real estate industry. And what blew me away.
Where it all began for you.
Hey?
Back to where it began for you in many ways, all that work you used to do for Ren.
Yeah, no, look, I know. And it's kind of really surprised me. And what really blew me away was that more real estate agents commit suicide than police officers do. Because the real estate industry is so volatile, and, there's just an enormous amount of stress, particularly, there's a lot of ego in real estate. There's a lot of competition in real estate. There's a lot of perception in real estate as to, I'm better than you are, and because I'm so good in this particular area, that's why you should list with me. There's that ethos inside of real estate, which is starting to change, by the way. But, it was an interesting statistic to see that more real estate agents commit suicide than police officers. So I'm not surprised, I'm not the least bit surprised that we've had the most success with real estate businesses, but we're branching it out now, and it's all just about time. But we're branching it out now into small business and small to medium enterprises, and just offering it as a service. We get retained on a monthly basis to provide that service. And it's a way for staff to not leave companies. It's a retention and a productivity strategy. Yeah, so it's all very exciting.
You're phenomenal. I just love the way you constantly aspire to bigger and greater things for the greater good of all. You're such a remarkable soul. And then you, Cindy, writing these books for the great. Honestly, it's so beautiful, and I bet our community are all doing amazing things in their own way and creating change and things. But I just want to ask you how you manage it all. How are you both going health-wise? How are you both looking after yourselves while you're changing the world and trailblazing and heading to being Prime Minister and Minister for Health and Sustainability?
Well, I'll be on.
Thank you. I'll take that portfolio on. It's so funny. Somebody said, some of my swimmers said, "Oh, Cindy for Prime Minister," and so then that set me off, and I went, "Okay, so if I was Prime Minister, this is what I would do." And it was like Attila the Hun, I'd wipe out all processed foods. I went on and on and on and on. It was hilarious. I'd get rid of glyphosate and just, it was, they all looked at me, and I kept coming up with these ideas because I was in flow, and I just go, and I do this, and I do that. And then I'd wipe out taxation and do I think is it 4% debit tax on all money that's moved in and out of bank accounts, So, yes. I don't know how we got onto that, but yes.
So, Cindy.
Prime Minister. But it was a lot of fun just saying, yeah, I just think sometimes when we're in crisis, we need to be bold with making change. So if you're not in crisis, you can kind of just move along and do your own thing, and, everything's going crazy. But the minute you hit crisis in your body, your health, you have to make major change. And I sometimes think that we are in major health crisis in Australia, as well as major financial crisis, as well as major political crisis, as well as major toxic crisis. And I think it's time for somebody brave to come out and make some bold moves. That's me. But then you wouldn't take me on, because I'd be just like Attila the Hun. Yes. Anyway, I don't know how we got on to me being Prime Minister, but you were saying, Kim?
I was just questioning how you're both going health-wise, and how you're both looking after yourself. And I don't know if Karen's going to admit to what she's eating lately, but I'm just...
That's why we're asking this question, because we all had to look after ourselves, but Karen, yes.
Oh, Kimmy! Well, okay. So there's something to say. There's something to say, and I feel like I'm such a traitor. I have been exhausted, and I have put the brakes on a lot of my mental work, and I am really just keeping the balls in the air without putting too much energy into putting new balls in there. So, because I really can feel myself completely depleted and my tank is empty. So I'm busting for a holiday over Christmas, but the tank is definitely empty. And what's really, really interesting, here it comes. The other day, I felt the need to have a boiled egg, and I would have killed somebody if they had stopped me, if they'd tried to take the egg off me. So I threw an egg in the boiling pot and let the thing boil for a good 25 minutes. And, you know, I needed to make sure that it was well and truly cooked, could not have anything slimy. And then I ate the egg and I wasn't offended. And it's probably the first egg that I've really eaten in 30 years. So what's really interesting since then, it's been about a week, I have had 2 boiled eggs every single morning. Every single morning. And heaven help anybody who tells me I can't have one, because I think I would just tear their eyes out. And it's the funniest thing.
Wow.
I said to Matt the other day, I said, oh my goodness, we've only got 4 eggs left. We've only got 4 eggs left.
Wow. Do you think, Cindy, that's her body screaming for that? Like, is there something that's occurred for Karen around this? Like, from your position, what does that look like?
What does this mean, Cindy? I've been meaning to ask you the whole time.
Sometimes the body tells you exactly what it needs. I remember being vegetarian for 16 years and having a craving for sausage. Mine wasn't eggs, mine was sausage. Mm-hmm. And I remember it being, it's such a thing that I was walking past a shop and I'd see it and I'd walk away going, no, you're a vegetarian. Then I'd go back and look at it and I'd walk away and I'd go back. And in the end, I had to go in, get it, eat it. And I must admit, I started to feel more energetic. And about 10 days later, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. Now, it wasn't that sausage that made me.
Oh, dear.
But it was.
Moving on.
Right, you are.
But what I think.
Like a good sausage with an egg, eh?
Oh,
sausage and an egg. But what I think it was doing was saying, hey, you need to do something if you want a healthy child. And I think, you know, like you've been a vegan for a long time and you may be depleted of some nutrients and you eat really well. It's not like you eat McDonald's and your body's screaming out for McDonald's. You don't do that.
No.
You eat really well. And it could be just saying, hey, you know, you're really pushing the barrel at the moment and I'm sorry, but we're going to need some nutrients, and it pushes you towards a food. But what I love, Karen, is the comment that you made when Matt asked you whether you were going to the vegan festival.
Oh, I couldn't go because I felt like I was such a traitor. I felt like I'd completely betrayed my vegan family.
But let's just look at an egg. Let's look at an egg. So I have chickens.
Yes.
They are so happy and they give me an egg every single morning. They don't brood on them. They just give me these eggs every morning. And you should hear them when they're laying the eggs. You know exactly that someone's laying an egg because they do this clucking. It's like this really happy clucking. It's like, wah, wah. I can't even do it. I'm going to tape it for you guys.
Oh, would you?
Because it is the cutest sound as they're doing. I go, oh, there goes another one. Another one's delivering. And then you collect their eggs. They have clean nests and they get to do it for you again. And they live amazing lives. Now, I wouldn't buy chicken, eggs from just anyone. And I don't buy, I have my own. Yeah. But I'm very, very, I want to know that those chickens are being looked after, because happy chickens make happy eggs, which means that those eggs are probably full of good nutrition, no chemicals, nothing like that. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about eggs.
Amazing. And Kaz, just tell us from a psychological point of view,
Well,
how's one feeling?
well, one really, the thought of eating an egg has been quite offensive to one for quite a serious amount of time. So as one eats the egg, what's interesting is the need for the egg seems to outweigh the disgust that one has for the egg.
Amazing.
I know. It's not even an option. And Matt thinks it's hilarious. He thinks it's hilarious. He says the family that eats eggs together stays together, because now I'm making eggs first thing in the morning because I have to have them. And he's like, "Oh, are we having breakfast this morning?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Get out of my way."
Hey, darling girls, I know we have, I think we're almost at time, but I was just thinking from our listeners' perspective, how could we give, what's our 2 top health tips that we would encourage people from all the things we've been learning around electromagnetic radiation, around all the topics, all the interviews? Why don't we each give 2 top tips around how we've integrated some of the things that we've learned over the last few weeks, maybe even months, into our own lives, if there's anything new that you'd like to add?
Go for it, Cindy.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm pretty boring. I just do the same thing. So mine's grounding, going barefoot as much as possible, and understanding the unconscious and the conscious mind, and being very aware of how the unconscious mind drives you, unless you really click into it and say, hang on, that's not what I'm going to do. So I probably my new one is really, really catching my unconscious mind thinking and doing things that it shouldn't, like doubting or judging. But we all judge, don't we? But, things like that. So I would say my old one is grounding, my new one is really catching my unconscious mind.
Nice.
What's yours, Kimmy?
I think I have been reading a lot lately. I have, I don't know, I've just seemed to, because I made a decision to put my house on the market, and all of a sudden time seems really like I'm really being precious with my time. So I'm writing down every day all the things I've got to get done, because as we learnt in NLP, that when someone says they're really busy and they're overwhelmed, it's usually 7 things plus or minus 2. So I really took that on board, and it really is that. There's not more than 5 or 7 things on my plate, really. So I've really taken that into account. So I'm writing down everything I need to do, and I am nailing so many things. And I've read 3 books this month.
Wow.
Yay.
Yeah, I just haven't done that because I've not found time. But since I've not been wasting my time, I've made more time. Does that make sense?
So beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying that. I've been doing a lot of travel, and people always say to me, how do you cope with all the travel? I think it's because I take my own food. I've also really probably taken on not eating a lot of food, which I'm not saying that to be unhealthy. I just realized I think we overeat is my thing, because I did the 4-phase fat elimination protocol when I got back from France, and just find that fasting from 6 or 7 p.m. at night through till 10 or 11 in the morning is really working for me energy-wise. So I've been trying that on for a while, and of course, doing my meditation, making sure that I turn my Wi-Fi off, and trying to really be mindful of all the things I'm saying, thinking, feeling, and doing. And I feel I've got more energy than before. So I don't know, I feel great.
Oh, that's so fabulous. Good for you.
Yeah. And what about you, gorgeous girl?
For me, I am...
Apart from eating eggs.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I don't know that there's anything more to say. No, I'm being very gentle with myself, and I'm being very kind to myself, and really, having a really good look at my life and how I think parts of my life and parts of my personality, and I said this to an Ayurvedic doctor, he said to me, do you think that your personality exhausts you? And I think, yes, I think that's what it's been. And I think that I've kind of done this to myself for a very, very long time, and I've always had the desire and the energy to maintain it. But I'm reaching a different, or I feel like I'm going into a different phase of my life where, I might like to make new choices. I don't know, and I don't know really what that's going to look like, but I'm just allowing myself to be with that rather than keeping myself trapped in an old habit and an old habitual way of being and doing things and hustling and being busy all the time. So I'm really allowing myself I'm definitely busy, but I'm doing more creative things.
And eating eggs.
And eating eggs.
Oh. I think you're all extraordinary, and I just think it's such a gift to watch the work that we're doing, but also I'm getting really excited, I have to say, girls, about our trip next year, because we're coming, now that I've seen all the Christmas things out, I'm really excited about that. And I have been asked by a whole lot of people while I've been on the road, what's our next trip? So I think one of these podcasts coming up before Christmas, we need to announce what we're doing in 2022.
Oh, okay. Sounds like fun.
2021 or 2022?
2021.
2021.
We're not missing, are we? We're not missing one.
And I just want to say thank you to all our beautiful listeners and the messages we get on behalf of the three of us. We absolutely adore you. We feel so privileged that you tune in each week. I feel so humbled. I don't know about you girls, but whenever people say, they've met us or they hear us or, we've been going nearly 7 years, and
oh my goodness,
isn't that extraordinary? And to think some people still tell us to this day how this podcast has either shaped, formed, or helped them change their lives. And just three chicks having a beautiful conversation who absolutely adore each other and really revere one another for the skills and genius that we each walk in. And I think that's the power of friendship and the power of connection and tuning in each week to something that's familiar. And I just, on behalf of all our listeners, I'm saying thank you to you, darlings, and to the three of us for making this a priority each week. I think it's a beautiful thing for me as much as anything else. So thank you, beautiful girls.
Oh, you beautiful soul, Kimmy. What a lovely thing to say.
Thank you to our audience. Yes,
definitely. Well, you guys, thanks for tuning in and for having a coffee with us and for sitting and having a chat and a catch-up. It's actually been quite fun, and if the truth is to be told, I honestly think we probably could go for another hour or three, but we won't.
Well, we did go an hour before it.
We did do that. We thought that we would just jump straight on and do a podcast show, but no. So, but for all of our listeners, jump on over to our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/up-for-a-chat, where you can post your questions and your comments there. And also, you know what? We would love to hear if there are any topics that you'd like us to have a chat about. Don't feel like you're not a part of this show. You're absolutely everything, and you are the reason we do it. So get involved and tell us what you'd like to talk about with us. Send us a private message on the Facebook page, or you can just post straight onto the page and we will get it and send you a message straight back. You can also head on over to allthews.thewellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat. And most importantly, make sure that you go on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, and tune in here next week, right here on Up for a Chat, where you get to become part of the ripple effect. It's changing the world. We're going to see you on the ride. Bye for now, everybody.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.